Welcome back. Now, they describe it as a journey from survival to success. The success being this. Behind me, Gandhis Flipflops, now a global brand helping orphan children around the world. But this story of success began with tragedy in the tsunami of 2004. Rob and Paul Forkan were travelling with their parents and siblings in Sri Lanka when the disaster devastated parts of the country 10 years ago. Well, I'm delighted to say both Rob and Paul are with me now. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. It is an amazingly written book, is the first thing to say. I mean, it starts with a prologue, a description, the most amazing description of the moments before and when the tsunami hit. Just the noise, the power. Just give me a little sense of that.
Well, it's, you know, it is one of those things that is just very hard to describe, and, you know, people that were there will know only too well, but it's something you don't forget very quickly, and you know, it was really hard for us to put that into words and to write a story about what, you know, what we saw on that day. But that's kind of why we do what we do now, is, you know, we use that kind of negative kind of, you know, and you know, what happened to us as a driving force to what we do.
And you say pretty early on you couldn't actually compute what was going on. You were just simply reacting. It was just almost automatic.
Yeah, it was. It was like being in a washing machine. And I was very lucky that Rob woke me up. I was asleep, and it was about 8:30 in the morning, and I thought, he's just trying to get me out of bed. And I was just like, leave me alone. He's like, no, there's water. The first wave came in. It wasn't too big, but then I went to the door, and you see a wave like up to the ceiling and took all the roof tiles off. So we were very lucky to get away alive. And
it was all at extraordinary pace as well, almost in a split second. Let me rewind for a moment, because you say in the opening chapter, every journey starts with a step. I mean, your step, because by this stage you've been travelling for a number of years with the whole family, to actually move away, to go to India, then to Sri Lanka. I mean, incredibly unconventional to take kids out of school, homeschooling. What did people around you say at the time when your parents decided to do that?
Everyone thought we were crazy at the time. You know, there we were, normal classroom in South London, and I remember going back into school and telling my head of year that I was moving to India, and he just kind of laughed and said, "I'll see you on Monday." And before we knew it, there we were, kind of off on a journey. And
there you are, and it was amazing, actually reading your observations as youngsters. You were there 1 minute in South London, the next minute you're there in India. The hustle, the colours, the contrast. What was that like as a youngster, seeing that at first hand?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, kind of in a classroom when you hear, you know, learning about geography and history and culture, and then there we were kind of thrown into, you know, India, which is just such a vibrant, amazing country, and we got to go see it firsthand, which, you know, it's
good thing about India. I've been around the world a couple of times, but whenever you go to India, it's just the craziness, the sound, the smell. There's a billion people living there. It's just amazing.
And the contrast, that was one of the things that you observed, palaces next to prisons in one part you visited. And also, you had entrepreneurs all around you, and you got up to some pretty early days of wheeler dealing yourself as teenagers, didn't you?
Yeah,
what sort of things did you get up to?
I used to like go to the market and swap art for stuff. They loved English football shirts, so always doing entrepreneurial stuff, which is good. And in India, there's entrepreneurs on every corner selling something.
And Rob, let me take you back to the tsunami, because there were a couple of heart-stopping moments when you write at length about that. And I think both of those were when you found Matty and Rosie, your younger brother and sister. I mean, how did they survive amongst all of what you were just describing a moment or two ago?
Well, again, you know, they were incredibly brave themselves. You know, what they went through, and you know, it took a lot for them, but our parents, you know, they sacrificed themselves to get our younger siblings out of their bedroom, and then it was just a case of holding on for survival and climbing.
You think they saved them, don't you?
Yeah.
Because Matty, certainly your brother, they actually put him up in a tree and
got them out of the room, and then Matty kind of was, yeah, up in a tree, and our little sister, yeah. So then they were kind of up in palm trees. So.
And it was amazing the journey you had after that, because I made the point that you've been travelling for a while, and you made the point that actually because you had these life skills, you were much better able to cope with all the devastation around you than the many of the tourists who were out there for a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we worked in the slums, and we were brought up doing loads of volunteering work, and working in the slums and stuff, we were always brought up seeing kids a lot worse off than us. So when we were in that position, we were kind of like there's other kids worse off.
That was pretty bad, but there was, you know, we'd seen so much at a young age that it wasn't, you know, don't get me wrong, it was one of those things that, you know, was complete bedlam, but we were just kind of a little bit more aware of what was going on around us and what we needed to do.
You eventually came back to this country. I mean, the panic attacks, the worry, the need to get to high ground lasted for a long time, 3 months before you knew that your parents had died. I mean, it must have taken an awfully long time to basically recover. But then in terms of all of the success, what you went on to do, where did the idea, even the name for Gandys Flipflops come from?
Well, you know, for years we've both been travelling again, we've both been out volunteering again, working hard, and then we'd both been working, and I just randomly at a festival had the idea of flip-flops, woke up with a bit of an urban term, but a mouth like Gandys Flipflops, and wondered if anyone had ever came up with a brand called Gandys. Nobody had, and we wanted to make it our own, and before we knew it, we were on Google and on Alibaba trying to find products, and that was it. We started to find a manufacturer, and before we knew it, we had, you know, we had prototypes.
Which isn't to make it sound easy, because it was extraordinary, the amount of work, just the walking of the streets, the selling it. But eventually you got a partner, and you had this lovely moment. I think you described it as the Brothers' Den, not the Dragon's Den,
yeah.
that television programme. Just explain briefly how you got an investor.
So we'd been building up momentum. We knew we had some big retailers that wanted to launch with us, but we knew we needed, you know, help to kind of make that happen, and we needed funding. So rather than doing Dragon's Den, we invited a load of self-made millionaires to come into a load of tree houses and pitch us why we should let them get involved with what we're doing. And
of course, you always hoped the global brand, you would have celebrities. You have done all that. You have Richard Branson wearing your flip-flops. You've met princes, prime ministers. But in terms of the giving back, because that was so important, it was one of the things that you say that you learnt from your parents, this whole idea of social enterprise. You very much made a big effort to actually put back. Just explain a little of what you've been doing.
So for us, the reason we started, that, you know, when we started, we just, you know, we wanted to do something to mark the 10-year anniversary, because we knew it was approaching with, you know, a couple of years ahead of us, and we were sat there in, you know, in the bedroom, and we said that we were going to build our children's home in memory of our parents. So for us, you know, after all the kind of help we had when we were backpacking, what we saw, and then when we were in Sri Lanka, when we had to get home, children there helped us that had nothing. So for us, we wanted to do something where we could now give back to children where they might not necessarily have what we had when we came back. So, and
you're still doing that. You're doing that in Sri Lanka. You're doing that in India. You said that none of this would be possible, survival or succeeding, without the spirit that you actually learnt from your parents, which I think is a magnificent tribute to them. So thank you, congratulations on the book, and thanks for coming in to talk to us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.